Welcome back, Weather Kingdom. In this update, we are going to be taking a look at the tropics once again. We are getting closer and closer to September 11th, and it looks like for the first time in a very long time, we will have a quiet September 11th with no major concerns of land interaction with any tropical cyclone. That's not to say that the rest of the Atlantic is dead, because there is signs that the Atlantic still can produce a few more storms before the end of the hurricane season. And I'd like to explain that in today's video. So this is the satellite imagery. We still got our boundary front / cold front that's sitting off the coast. This is what is going to help the Central American gyre with its movement. We're going to get a few waves coming out of here, and then kind of get amplified by another counterclockwise flow right that, and then kind of move like this. Alright, that's going to be the flow on everything, and that we're going to have to really watch the MJO also in that time period. Also, you don't see too much going on up in the tropics, as we got dry, stable air pretty much pronounced into the northern parts of Africa, and suppressing a lot of tropical waves. But there is something that some people are keeping an eye on, and I like to keep an eye on it also, is we do have a bit of swirling going on in the mid-levels here. And that's actually kind of even coming back out in the low levels. But there is still dry, stable air in the upper atmosphere, in the mid-levels and low levels, I mean. Sorry about that. And this is likely going to, once again, crash into a breaking wave, once again, that has been used quite often in the Atlantic hurricane season. It's keeping this dry air is going to keep this wave suppressed and probably won't even develop it. We also got soon another tropical wave that's going to be coming off Africa. That has shown some development. We'll have to wait and see. But what my eye is more that I would like to take a focus on today is this part of the Atlantic basin. Okay, the Central American gyre, where the GFS is now almost entering its second day in a row showing consistent of a wave developing in a favorable period of the MJO. So I'm going to like to talk about that there. The National Hurricane Center, as we look through here, is dead in the next 7 days. We'll have to wait and see. I think they might put a yellow blob in the next couple days somewhere around here. That even if it's a low chance, I think they should, just all depending on the waves. But I think National Hurricane Center is going to be very watching out for it, and they might even never post it, because maybe the atmosphere, once again, the models are picking up on another bust. And I think the National Hurricane Center is going to take extra caution this go around. But we'll have to wait and see. So, there's a lot to talk about. And this is with the MJO that we are going to be seeing. I talked about this last night in the live stream, and we're probably going to have another live stream tonight here. And basically, in the next little bit, in the next 72 hours, this will stay sinking motion. This is pretty bad here. This is not good and favorable. I mean, this is pretty a suppressed phase of the MJO, while we got good phasing over here in the Central, East Pacific, and parts of Africa in the next 3 days. When we take a look out into the Euro here, when we take a look out into the next 5 days, the Euro up to the September 12th still has a unfavorable pattern across the Caribbean, Gulf, and main development region. Something to really keep an eye on. That's in the next 5 days. And when we take a look in the next 6 days, maybe the National Hurricane Center is right. Maybe they are not seeing any development. But even in the next 6 days, up to September 13th, it's still an unfavorable pattern with the MJO. But there is an impulse of the MJO starting to scoot a little bit closer to the United States. And that will likely to scoot around the 15th, at least the beginning of it. So this is in the next about 7 or so days, 7 or 6 days. And generally, we see the MJO by the 15th still unfavorable off Africa, northern subtropical Atlantic. But when we take a look at the blue here that I'm about to circle, we're now in neutral phasing, okay, across the Atlantic, the Caribbean, and the Gulf. And that's going to be the time period where I do think we could get a potential Central American gyre develop and even a seed off it. While this is the 16th of September after the Atlantic hurricane season, we're in a little bit more of now a favorable pattern in the Caribbean and Bay of Campeche and the Gulf of Mexico. That, I think, will be your period for a potential tropical wave that we will be taking a look at. And I think we'll have to wait and see, but you can generally see a very strong phase here in the next 10 days. This is the 17th, 18th is definitely very strong, even the 19th. So a couple good days, even the 20th. So from the 15th to the 20th, that's already 5 days, and that's a pretty good favorable MJO. But by the September 21st, we start to enter the MJO is going to start moving into Africa. And then you could tell more of an unfavorable Eastern Pacific, while we still got a bit of a favorable period towards the end of September in the Atlantic period. So we'll have to wait and see, does the MJO kind of sit over the East Pacific and kind of gives us some activity in the Atlantic. That's still wait to see. This ain't the only model that shows it. It's also the GFS, and I actually haven't looked at the newest GFS. This is the next 72 hours out, and pretty a suppressed phase here. When we take a look at the yellow here, pretty suppressed phase of the MJO, and we'll have to wait and see right here in the next 3 days. And even when we take a look at the next couple days, this is going to kind of start jumping a bit. So this is by September 13th. And then this is, September 14th. So this is by the 14th. And the GFS wants the MJO to start kicking in now on the 12Z a little bit quicker. Okay, we have a little bit more of rising motion over the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico, while the Atlantic off Africa is still pretty unfavorable in this general region. Okay, that's by the 14th. When we take a look by the 15th, the MJO starts to strengthen, and by the 18th here, the MJO is rocking and cooking here with tons, and I mean tons, of rising motion in the Atlantic. This is pretty interesting when the MJO is at this time. The GFS is also spinning up a CAG system, the Central American Gyre, that we have been talking about for the last couple weeks. And the latest GFS, this is a brand new run, but comparing from last run to this run, the MJO is much stronger. And then even by the 20th, the MJO, according to GFS, is all loving the Atlantic and Africa here. That could produce a storm off Africa and something in the Bay of Campeche and Gulf. This is something my eye's been really watching, and I want to just say, even if we don't see any systems by September 11th, doesn't mean the Atlantic hurricane season's over. We still got a whole nother half of the Atlantic hurricane season. So just keep that in mind, okay? And then you could tell this by September 21st, and even the 22nd, and even the 23rd. Here, the MJO generally kind of struggles. This is in the next 15 or so days. By the end of September, we still got some rising motion in the Atlantic. Okay, even off Africa a bit. There's one patch of red there, but majority of the Atlantic is still in neutral to above average MJO. Something to keep an eye out. And according to last run to this run, yeah, look at that. Much more of an MJO prompt here on the latest GFS. And the Euro is a little bit more bullish. So the trend with the GFS and Euro's MJO is longer and stronger? That's the question that I would like to be answered. Alright? When we take a look at now the ensembles, this is the European GEFS ensembles. Let's go to 234. It also prompts, something a little bit out in the main development region when we take a look in the black. Something over here, very broad. I wouldn't really count my eyes on this. But there's something else that we are seeing now really starting to develop is the Central American gyre with a few low pressures. A little bit more consistency today than yesterday. And a little bit more of a Central American gyre trying to develop. So that is something on the GEFS that you're going to like to watch. And this was 6Z, a little bit less. And 0Z a little bit about the same. So corn and 12Z, there's a little bit more agreement. When we take a look at the GDM, this is an AI model. This is probably overdone. I will not count my bets on this. It's probably a little bit overdone, especially these ensembles here. But we also start noticing something in the Bay of Campeche in the Gulf. And when we take a look at previous runs, the 6Z and 0Z had nothing. So it is a little bit interesting that the model sport's going up with that. Also, I'm going to put this in question mark. We'll have to wait and see because there is a little bit of model sport out in the main development region. I'm not completely ruling it out, but I don't think it'll be that strong. I think that's a little bit overdone. And when we take a look at our GNC anomalies, it also has picked up a bit on the Gulf of Mexico and the Central American gyre. A little bit more waves. Also, we see something over here with our main development region. It's if the system tries and develops. I'm not too confident about it. We'll have to wait and see on the models. We're going to take it with a grain of salt for now. And then 12Z of Sunday. So it never even came out yet. And then this is 0Z. So a little bit more model support at the 6Z run in the Bay of Campeche. When we take a look at the European ensembles, this is a very interesting ensemble support is when we take a look at 12Z, you guys, look at that. This was yesterday's 12Z. Nothing over here, right? And when we take a look at today's 0Z, look at that, a few more low pressures. Also, it wants to show something here with a low pressure. Kind of dies, I think. I don't think it's going to do something like this. I don't think it's going to do anything like that. But we'll have to wait and see. I think that's a little bit over dramatic. But something to keep an eye out on. So, what about the models? Our main global models. What does it like to show here in the Atlantic? And basically, with the GFS 12Z, it doesn't like to show really anything with the Atlantic. Kind of has that low pressure. It kind of tries and develops it. But what we see more is, like we said, the MJO around the 15th. I'm going to see if I can get the 15th here. This is the MJO around the 15th, right? And look at the latest GFS. Get something going about the 15th of the MJO. And we do see a low pressure that comes out of here and starts to develop. And it generally becomes a tropical storm. Struggles to develop. But does become a Category 1 hurricane into Louisiana. It's not the only thing I'm noticing also. We do see another tropical wave that some of the ensembles have a support where it could develop a little bit as we get closer to home ground systems. Also, that will make landfall. This will kind of move out, get dragged out, and then that's it. Another tropical wave there. But this is with a grain of salt. It hasn't making landfall, remember, in 282 hours out. The development on this is a little bit less than 10 days. I would say probably about 8 to 9 days, okay, that the GFS has it developing. So still take it with a grain of salt. But like I said yesterday, We've been seeing the agreement here on the models in the last, since a few days ago now. And then, you know, it shows that weird mystery model. When we take a look at the euro, though, the euro says, nope, no bueno, nothing. There is nothing on the euro. But there is a little bit of interesting news that this tropical down here never develops. Not surprising. But we do see a few waves come off Africa, kind of struggles. And then when we see one towards the end, when the Atlantic MJO starts kicking in on the euro and GFS, we do see a few waves that looks a little bit more concerning in the main development region. So we'll have to wait and see what does the 18Z run show, what does the latest euro show, and those will be very big questions. And we'll be showing that tonight, okay? When we take a look at the environment now, generally there is, once again, that dry air pocket of Saharan dust. But we do see a break of the Saharan dust right here coming off Africa. A break. I'm going to put a B. A break of Saharan dust. And this is kind of going to fizzle out and move out. So that's some good news also there. Now, when we take a look at the vorticity, there's some vorticity down here. But remember, it's not consolidated. And then when we take a look at the shear, generally in the main development region, it's pretty conducive as of right now. And then our last thing I want to take a look at is our waters historic. Because we have broke new records with the SST anomalies in the Gulf of Mexico. We are now running on this day of September 7th. We are running 1.32 degrees Celsius above average than the 1991 and 2020 year, and then 153 with the 1982 and 2010. So it's very interesting. And when we take a closer look here, currently this is the high, besides this over here on the peak, this is the highest on this day. Okay? The highest on this day. So that is something that really brought some major alarms there in the Gulf of Mexico. Also, the SST anomalies also in the Gulf of Mexico has surpassed. Oh. Right here. Look at that. Also on this day, this is the most ever recorded since records been broken as of September 7th. It's the highest we have ever seen the ocean heat content in the Gulf of Mexico ever recorded in history. So that was very interesting. Also, we beat actually 2024 and 2023. That was very interesting also. But once again, let's go back here. Let's do a recap. Let's take one more last look at the Atlantic. Basically, the recap is there's something to watch out for. A favorable MJO, historic waters in the Gulf of Mexico. Potentially some better conditions in the second half of September, but a quiet hurricane peak. But remember, do not take it for granted. Take it as prep and you know, take it as a break in relief. So still watch the rest of the year for tropical activities. On this channel, we'll be doing that also. And then we'll be having a winter series as we get into later in the months for winter time in the United States. So thank you guys. Hope you guys are like the video. Hope you guys are having a good day. I'll probably see you guys about 8, probably about like 9 to 9:30 tonight on the stream. So if you guys are new, please feel free to come to the stream chat. There's a lot of people there that likes to chat, and that'll be very greatly appreciated. Thank you guys. See you guys in the next one. Have a good rest of your day.